Hey guys, welcome to RC Video Reviews. Today we're taking a look at the HOTA F6. It's a 4-channel 1000 watt charger. And I thought I'd give you a look at a go bag that I've been setting up and working on. And the reason for this whole thing is there are some days I just don't want to bring a great big field box and a great big stack of batteries. And I was kind of looking at this HOTA. The other day I was at the field and I had my two X6s and they're doing great. You know, the X6 are amazing chargers, but I'm doing, charging up and getting ready to go. And sometimes with just two chargers, it's not enough. Like if you really want to fly, it's not enough. So I started looking around at some options and I thought, it'd be nice just to have a real simple solution in a compact bag if I just wanted to grab one or two planes and just go out and pump out some flights. And this is what I came up with. So the first thing we'll do, I'll tell you that in the description are links to most of what I'm going to show you tonight, including the bag. So if you'd like to get that, they are affiliate links. So just a reminder, if you use those, I get a little bit of a kickback. The channel does, but it goes right back into the channel. So just be aware of that. And that's it. So let's get into it a little bit. Now, I'm going to give you some of my requirements for this bag. The first of which is that I fly a 700 class helicopter, and that takes a 12S stick pack, which is kind of long. So one of the very first requirements I had for the bag was it needed to carry my helicopter batteries if they're in stick form. And thankfully, Rob found this one and he gave me the link on Discord. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yep, that's the one I'm looking for. So I went out and got the bag. And it's about 19 bucks. So decent price for the bag. And we'll take a look inside. Don't worry, we're going to get to the HOTA in just a minute. It's not going to take us long. This is a very short part. I just want to show you what's going on inside the bag so you see how this is all going to travel. So inside the bag, we have batteries. I've got a 6L 4000. I've got a 6L 5000. I've got another 6L 5000. I've got another 6L 4000. There's a 3300 in case I want to try a lighter battery, say on my laser. Here's a couple batteries from my Twisted Hobby Edge 540, a couple of 4-cell 2200s. Here's the servo and receiver pack for the 70-inch slick. Here are a couple 6200s if I'm out flying that 70-inch slick, and another couple of 6200s. And there's the 12S pack, and I could easily stack two of these. So there's the Tron battery pack, and that's what I mean about it has to support a stick pack because you don't like taking these apart, okay? So that was the nature of the bag. And then, of course, the guest of honor is the HOTA. We're going to cover this in some level of detail. I'll show you everything that's going on here. Don't worry about that. And then a couple other things I wanted to show you. There is room up top in the bag in these two little pockets if you want to carry a balance board. We're going to get into that in just a minute. And on this side, I've got a couple of Y connectors. I'll show you why we have those in just a minute. And we have our cell checker. So all of that fits inside this bag. And I thought that was actually kind of handy, man. That is everything you need for a pretty good day of flying. I mean, that's a lot of different planes out there to fly. And that's a nice bag for it. And it's a LiPo bag. I wanted to bring, I had the ruler on the table for a reason. And the reason for that was because I wanted to show you the measurements, even though it doesn't really show all that well on the camera due to the angle of the camera lens. But if I put the bag right here, this side is lined up on the edge. It's right there. It's on the edge. And then on this side, it's about 18 3/4 of an inch. So it's just shy of 19 inches. That's the width of the bag. And then, or the length of the bag rather. And then the width of the bag, you're looking at about 5.5 inches. So 5.5 inches on the width. That's why I had the ruler on the table, just to give you the measurements of the bag. And again, links are in the description for that if you want to get one for yourself. Okay. All right. Now the HOTA. Let's talk about this. Now, I'm going to go through some specs. I'm going to show you the specs on this unit. And we're going to do some testing because that's what we do. We are going to test this and make sure it says it's 1,000 watts. It says it's 250 watts per channel. So we're going to put it to the test and we're going to take a look at it and measure it to make sure it does what it says it's going to do. And I want to cover some specs. We're going to get into specifications first. But first, for you electronics gurus and tinkerers out there, check out PCBWay.com. PCBWay has a full suite of services available to make your ideas a reality, including PCB manufacturing and assembly, CNC machining, 3D printing, and injection molding. When you're ready to order, PCBWay provides instant quotes, real-time production tracking, and you can order as few as 5 boards at a time, which is great for early-stage projects. If you need an experienced partner to help bring your ideas to life, check out PCBWay.com. I have a link in the description if you'd like to give them a look. Okay, you guys will forgive me for paying the bills, but it's got to be done. Anyway, here are the specs. And again, I have affiliate links in the description. So if you want to grab any of this stuff yourself, please feel free to use my affiliate links. That's great. Channel gets a little kickback if you do. Anyway, input voltage on this one is 10 to 30. So that's good. 30 volts input. That's fine. You know, that's a 6S battery basically for input power. No problem there. Charge current, 15 amps by 4. Now, keep in mind, there's a 250 watt limit, so you can't do 30 volts and 15 amps. Obviously, that's over the 250 watt limit, so just keep that in mind. You have to adjust accordingly. You get 250 watts to work with, and you can go up to 15 amps on the charge current. It does regen at 15 amps, which is super cool. I will cover that in just a moment, and I'll actually show it to you as well. And it does a 1,000 milliamp or 1 amp balance current, which is nice because that's speedy. If you're going to use it as a discharger, only 3 amps, but that's okay. I see a lot of times I see people say, well, it's terrible because it's not much of a discharger. And I cover this every time I talk about discharging, but this is too small. There's no mass. This is not meant to be a discharger. So don't use it as a discharger. You can use it for regen, but if you want to get if you need to discharge and dissipate energy, you need something that can manage the heat. This obviously is not the device for that. Okay. So discharge current is only 3 amps, but again, it does 15 amps on the regen. 250 watts by 4, that's 1,000 watts total. Charge power when you're above 23 volts, keep that in mind. So 250 watts by 4 when you are above 23 volts. So keep that in mind. I haven't done it below 23 volts, so I'm not sure what happens below that. It also has a cool little party trick that I will show you. I will show you how this works. It does combined charge power of 500 watts. That's a really cool little trick. I will show that to you. And I think that's it on the specs on that side. On the right-hand side, in terms of battery types, it does high voltage LiPo, LiFe, Li-ion, and nickel metal hydride, NiCad, and smart batteries, lead acid, and Eneloop, I guess 1 to 16, whatever that means. It's got a USB-A output. Let me just show you the outputs real quick on the front here. So when I first got it, I'm like, wait, there's a lot of USB ports on here. That's USB-A. That one's good to 2.1 amps. This one is USB-C for power delivery. I'm going to show you that. This one is a micro USB, and that's for doing firmware upgrades. So you don't really use those for outputs. Those are for firmware upgrades. And then there's a little power port there because it actually does some servo monitoring. You can check PWM duty cycles and whatnot. So that's actually a nice little function. You plug the servo in and take a look. I think it does PPM too. It's not as robust as some of the other options out there, so I really wouldn't like look at it that way. But you know, it can do it. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so USB ports, nice USB ports. Type-C output does up to 45 watts, which is kind of cool. It's not the most aggressive, but it'll handle a phone and it'll definitely power your radio or charge your radio, so no problems there. It's got a 2.8-inch IPS screen, 320 by 320 by 240, 260,000 colors. Its dimensions, 115 millimeters by 121. This was really key for me for the bag. I had to find a bag that would support the length of my battery and the size of the charger both. It was important for me to have that. And then the net weight, 475 grams. So those are the specs. And then one other thing I want to do before I show you and start going through the testing so you understand what I'm working with here. This is my power source. So I did a video on this. This is my turning my car into a power bank. These are two 12-volt, 100 amp hour LiPo 4 batteries. So they're connected in series, and that means I get 24 volts and 100 amps. I can do 100 amps out, and I can do 100 amps in. So that battery system is what I'm using to power the demo that you're going to see here tonight. And that is connected to this lovely little connector right here. So the first thing we'll do is plug it. Oh, yeah. We'll plug it in just a minute. I wanted to show you some of the accessories. I found this little stand on Thingiverse. I put a link in the description if you want to download it yourself. I printed mine with PETG. It does require a couple of M2 by 6 millimeter or 8 millimeter screws. You need 3 on the back and then 3 on the front. So this screws together. This little mesh is a piece and then the frame is a piece. It actually prints very nicely, very clean print. And the reason I did this is because even though there is a little kickstand on the bottom, it doesn't really stand it up enough. It's there, but it's kind of it's kind of, I don't know, it's fiddly, it's annoying. And it doesn't really angle it up enough. Like if I'm standing, it's not enough of an angle. I thought the tray did a much better job of setting an angle that I would like to use when I'm at the field and I have this charger sitting in the back of my car. So there we go. So there's the stand. Again, it printed great. It's free. It's Thingiverse. Go grab it. Go grab it. The other thing I wanted to show you that I got, and I put links to this in the description as well. This one's kind of important because a lot of times when you get these balance leads, when you get these balance lead extensions, they're like this one, which when you look at this will only take a 6S. It'll only take a 6S, and it'll do fine with a 6S because it's keyed for that. You see how the two keys right there on the ends? That's for a 6S. A lot of these balance leads are like that. And if you're mobile and you're trying to be compact, you don't want a purpose-built balance lead extension. So I found these on Amazon, and check that out. They have teeth for everything, for 2S all the way to 6S, which I thought was really cool. So links for these are in the description as well. So even if you're not using this charger, these are still really cool extensions because this avoids the need for a balance board, and you can plug in any cell battery you want. So there's a 6S and here's a 2S. We'll do a 2S battery. This is these are one of the batteries that I use for my flight pack, or my RX, my receiver pack, when I'm out flying the bigger planes. And so there you go. Look at that. You can plug that guy in just like that and see the little teeth. I love that. I think that was a very clever solution. You don't see a lot of this kind of thing out there. Very clever, well done. I've actually cut my own like that, but they're never straight or aligned. So it's kind of nice to have that. Anyway, I wanted to show that to you too, because that was part of my little rig. And I was actually on the hunt for that. I was really giving it some thought on how I would put this together. Okay, so that's the tour of the outside of the box. 2 buttons. There's a channel button and an exit button and a task and setting button. So that part's pretty simple. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to plug it in. And the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to connect some batteries and we're going to charge some stuff. So I've got some of those batteries from the bag that I told you about. And let me get my other batteries here just a second. Okay, so I've got the 5000s. I've got 2 5000s. We're going to plug those in. Here's 1, here's 2, and then here are the 6200s. There's 1 right there, and there's 2. So we're going to plug these in. And the reason we're going to do this is because in order to test that theory of 1,000 watts, my plan is to do, I borrowed my converters. My plan is to do 2C on each of these batteries. So we're going to treat the 6200s as 5000s, and we're going to do 2C on that. So that'll be 10 amps, and we're going to repeat that 4 times. So that'll be 40 amps. And that will really get us very close to the 250 watts per channel. So we will get these all connected. Just takes a minute. And I'll do 6200s just because the OCD. What the heck? Oh, they're on this side, are they? Okay. I'm looking for my converters. All right. There we go. There's that one. There's that one. Okay. So that side's ready to go. And we'll get this side ready to go with another 6200 over here. So imagine getting to the field, right? And getting everything set up like this. This is kind of what goes on. So here we go. Last battery. This is a 5000. Okay. So now what we've got are 4 batteries connected. There we go. All right. So we have on channels 2 and 3, these bottom 2 channels, I've got the 5000s connected. And on channels 1 and 4, that's these 2, I've got the 6000s connected. So what we'll do, and I'm going to zoom in on the interface because you guys see how it's connected now. I'm also going to remove my stand because it shows better on camera for you with the stand removed. Actually, oddly for the camera, it works best with the little built-in stand. Okay, so let me just zoom in so you guys can see what's going on the screen here. So now you understand how everything's hooked up. What we're going to do is we'll start with channel 1, and I'm just going to press the jog dial, and the task will be charged. By the way, the firmware on this looks like a lot of other chargers from China, like the ISD, not the ISDT, the toolkit stuff. I got my wires all wadded up here. All right, that's better. Okay, so anyway, select task for channel 1. We're going to leave it on charge. Battery type is LiPo. I'll show you the options. Again, you got high voltage, Li-ion, Life, LIXS, zinc, lead acid, NiCad, and nickel metal hydride, and Eneloop. I'm not sure what the Eneloop is about. I might have to do a little reading on that one. So we'll select LiPo. We'll leave the cell voltage at 4.2. You guys can see that okay? Yeah, I think so. We'll leave it at 4.2. It auto-detected 6S, and we're going to leave the current. That needs to be set to 10 amps because I'm going to do 10 amps per channel. Remember, at peak, these are 25 volts. So 25 volts times 10 amps, 250 watts, right? We can actually go a little higher than that because we're not at 25 volts to start. So I'll go ahead and start it at 11. We'll just make sure we're... Actually, I think if we go a little higher, if we go to, say, 12... then we can make sure we're hitting the full 250. So we're going to start task number 1 on channel 1. And one other thing, take note, the ramp time is kind of slow. Some of these chargers, they go bam, immediately to full amperage. This one just kind of ramps up a little bit, which is not terrible. I don't have a problem with that. Actually, it's probably easier on the battery and easier on the electronics to do that. One other thing about these chargers too, a lot of times these jog dials, they can be kind of annoying in terms of navigation. This one's not bad. It doesn't skip much. Every now and then it'll skip a little bit, but compared to a lot of others, it's not terrible. Okay, so you can see right here's the math. 10.7 at 23.2 volts. Can you guys see that? Let me bring this in even a little bit closer. There we go. Now you can really see it. So we got 10.7 amps at 23.3 volts, 250 watts. Okay, now we're going to go to channel 2 and start that one. Notice it says it's on standby. When you click the task button, it uses the parameters from the last thing that you set up. So I'm still on charge, LiPo 4.2. There are other options out there where you can say apply this to all of these channels. This one doesn't really have that option, but it does remember the last thing you did. So it's using 12 amps, and I can go ahead and start the task. So we'll get that one going, and that'll spool up, and then we'll scroll over to number 3. There we go. There's number 3. What did I just say about skipping, right? And we'll hit start task, and then we'll go to number 4, and we'll do the same thing, start task. Now what we're looking for is for all of these to jump up to a full 250 watts. Now sometimes there's a button over here that lets you bring up the channels. So I'm going to click the button and that brings up the detail on the channel. So you can see now that we're on channel 1 and we're at 10.6 amps, 250 watts. Here's the individual cell voltage and you can toggle through that and look at resistance and temperature and voltage and all that stuff, watt hours, how many cycles this channel has done. And then if you press it again, it'll go to channel 2 and you'll get the same information, and then channel 3 and then channel 4. And then if you press it one more time, it goes back to the main screen and now you've got all of your channels. So here we go. 10.6 times, if you guys want to do the math, go ahead, but I think it's right. 23.4 is 250 watts. 10.8 times 23.3 is 250 watts. 10.7 times 23, 250 watts. And 10.6 times 23.2, 250 watts. So it's doing, that's 1,000 watts right there. If someone wants to check the math, that's great. So there we go. There's the charge. Now, if you want to stop them all at the same time, you can do that by long pressing this button. And if you do that, it stops the charge on all of them, which I thought was good. And that way, if you don't like what you did, you can make a change. You can get them all to stop right away. If you want to start working on one, and then after you start the charge, if you just short press the task button, you can adjust your current. And again, I've seen this on other firmware like the toolkit stuff. So it's the same concept where you could adjust that current while you're charging. Say we'll bring it down to 3.8, and you'll see that charge rate drops down to 3.8 amps. So there you go. That's the charging. And I'd say we're good on 1,000 watts there. Now, the next thing I want to do is a regen discharge, because I want you guys to see the regen discharge as well. so what I'm going to do is click on, we'll start with channel 1, and under task, I'm going to go under regen discharge. By the way, notice it has the external discharge. Like the iChargers, this one supports an external load. I have not experimented with it yet. I will, because you guys know I have the Admiral. So I will connect the Admiral and we'll do an external discharge, probably on a pilot jam. So come to the pilot jam. But you can do external discharge. So you've got the internal discharge, external discharge, and regen discharge. And also notice it's got this balance function. I like that one a lot. If you want to, you know, you're done charging for the day, you can hook a battery up and just say, hey, balance this for me. And you can do that again, do that as well. But I'm going to set this on regen discharge, and notice the current. I've got it set at 15 amps and we have the cell voltage set at 3.75. So I'm going to hit start, and now we can see channel 1 is going through and that'll climb. We're going to start up channel 2. Remember, it remembers the last thing you did. So there's the regen discharge at 15 amps. We'll hit start there, and then we'll go to channel 3 and hit start, and then channel 4. There's the skip, and then we'll hit start. So now we've got all 4 channels. Wait, hey, hold on a minute. You are supposed to be discharging. Regen discharge down to 3.75. Okay. I wonder why that went yellow. It should go purple. We'll let it, there it goes. It turned purple. Maybe I just got too fast. So there we go. Now we're doing a regen discharge, and you can see we're at 8.3 on this guy, 11, 10, 2.2. I don't know why that's at 2.2. That's only showing a negative 49 watts. I can assure you guys it will do it because I tested it and I saw a picture. I'm not sure why I'm seeing that. It's probably something. It says 15 amps. And let's see. Let me bring the voltage down a little bit lower just to see. We'll bring it down to 3.6. And we're looking for 15 amps. Yeah, that should do it. Regen 3.6, 15 amps. Yeah, that should do it. We should see that climb all the way up to 10. Yeah, it's possible it was already just a little bit too close, but there you go. Now it's starting to climb up there. So that's pretty cool because we're dumping, that's what, 20, 36, 37 amps into my battery bank right there. So pretty nice, right? That's a pretty cool functionality. And by the way, you know, you could be doing, if we stop this one, we can change this task to a charge. So you can do, you know, they're independent channels is the bottom line. So what I'll do is I'll just set this one to charge if I can figure out how to do that. And we'll leave it, it says 3.8. We'll bring it up to 10. And then we'll hit start. Now we've got, you know, that's 14 amps, 24 amps, give or take, going into the battery bank, and another 5 to, it'll be 10 amps eventually coming back out. So pretty cool. Yeah, you can charge and discharge on the same settings, you know, at the same time simultaneously. And there's the lead going into my battery. I'm just holding that for temperature and checking the temp to make sure it's not getting too hot because we're moving a lot of current right now, but that's not bad. Not bad. Pretty cool little feature set. I like it. I'm digging that. Okay, I'm going to hit stop here. And remember, if you long press, it'll stop everything. So there we go. They all stopped now. Now, the next thing I want to do is show you the settings real quick, and we'll get into the settings once from the main screen just by long pressing the jog dial. And I'll show you a couple of little things. I do want to show you guys the how to calibrate. So we need to make an adjustment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the balance lead and the battery from this one. So we're just going to disconnect there real quick. And I'm going to just rearrange a couple things on the desk because I do want you guys to see the calibration thing. I have a beef on the calibration thing. The calibration process is not too bad, but it's not that great either. It's a little annoying, to be honest with you. Okay, so let's see. All I'm doing now is just plugging a battery into this balance tray. And okay. So I'll zoom out a little bit so you guys can get an idea of what's going on here, because you're going to want to see the balance process that I'm about to go through, or not the balance, the calibration process I'm about to go through. Okay, so all I've done is I've taken on one of my channels, I've put my balance board going into the charger, and I've connected a 6L5000, and I'm going to bring my meter in, and the meter, we're going to set that to DC. And let's see if I can find a place. I guess I'm going to have to disconnect this stuff so I can find a place on the desk for this so you guys can see it. And there went the stand. Hey, that was a pretty good call, wasn't it? Look, that already popped off. Yeah, I pushed down a little bit still. It popped off. That's what I was afraid of. I didn't like that stand from the start. Okay, so there's my meter. And what I'm going to do is I have on my meter, I just have the leads connected to a couple of pins that go into a standard servo header. And I'm going to connect these to my balance board. And let's see, the red goes inboard because I'm on the opposite side. And if I do it right, we should see a voltage reading. Well, we should see a voltage reading. What am I missing here? Let's see. Let's try this. Oh, no, that's right. I don't know why I'm not getting a voltage reading. Let's see. I'm trying to bring up the little use channel key to select the channel. Okay. I'm just trying to see the individual cell voltage. There's 3.8, so I don't know why I'm not seeing that. Something wrong with my balance board, maybe? Interesting. Well, that's the way live stream goes, right? All right, I'm just going to make sure I've got connections on this, and I'm going to try connecting this to the board again real quick. Let's see, live streams. Yay for live streams. Well, I don't know what the heck is going on with that. I do not know what's going on with that. That should absolutely work. We have a battery. Yeah, that should have worked. That's weird. Well, let's try something else, I guess. Let me just check and see if, sorry for troubleshooting on a live stream, but this should work. Let's try this. Let's see if it's something to do with my pins or my wires. It's probably going to be the wires, right? Nope, there's 22.8 volts, so it's not that. I'll just try reconnecting them again, I guess. Oh, I see what I did. I put those in wrong. All right, had to be something. All right, sorry about the delay, guys. My bad. I had the wires reversed. Dang it. All right, here we go. Now we should get a reading. And of course, it's backwards. That shouldn't be backwards. Okay. All right, there we go. I guess we're finally in business. So there's 3.8. Now we'll go back to the main menu. Sorry about the delay, guys. All right, we'll go back to the main menu, and I wanted to show you guys the how to get out of here. There we go. Now we long press, we go back into the system menu, and I'll show you the calibration. So we are on channel 3 right now. So we'll go into channel 3 calibration, and I'll tell you, the first thing I don't like about it is this. I don't like these keys that they make us do. I really, and again, this is what reminds me of some of those other firmwares that we've seen. They do the same thing, and that is the toolkit. So I think I don't know exactly what the firmware is. I don't know if they all buy it from the same place or what, but you got to go through and put in these ridiculous keys, and it's just annoying. I really wish they'd stop doing this. But anyway, we'll go through the keys. Sorry about the delay on the voltmeter. Kind of silly. All right, so we put in the key. You just have to match the whole thing. Annoying. And then when you're done with that, you can get into your calibration. Now, I've done a calibration on this already, and I'll tell you guys up front, it was pretty close. It was pretty close. It wasn't too far off. Okay, there we go. So here's the calibration screen, and I just don't like what I saw there before. I'm gonna just rearrange the battery just a little bit. Okay, so there's that. So black should be on the inside, red should be on the outside, and that should be, I don't understand that either. Why is that negative? Oh, I see why it's negative. I can't seem to get this damn wiring straight to save my life. All right. All right, now will we be positive? There we go. Finally. Okay. So we're in channel 3. The good news is once you put in that key, you don't have to do it again as long as you don't turn the unit off. Okay. So what you're going to see now is we're on cell 1. My meter is saying 3.805, and the screen, I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see the screen because that's more important than what I'm doing with the balance lead at this point. So that says 3.804. Now, if we want to get that closer, we have to click on this and you simply move it to the value 3.805 and let it go. But now we come back and we're still at 3.804 and 3.805 up here. This is one of the things that makes me nuts about these. Now, I'm going to remove it, and all I'm going to do is just keep doing the calibration until they're all done. So 3.806 to 7, we could bump that one up a little bit. We'll go up to, and you see what happened there right at the end? Right when I click go, it changed it down to 3.801. So this is, again, it's one of these things. It's just kludgy in the software. I mean, you can do it. You just have to be really patient about it. So I'm reading 3.807 on my meter, and this is saying 3.800. So I want that to be closer. If I go up to 7, you would think that when I highlight that they should even out, right? That's what I would think, but they don't. So now it's 3.806, 3.807. I know there's voltage losses and stuff like that, but it's almost like argumentative. It doesn't matter how many times I change it to 3.807, it stays. Now look, it dropped down to 3.803. So this is what I mean about the calibration process. It's not great. You just have to be patient. That's all I can say. Just be patient and keep zeroing it in. And what I found seems to work the best is if I just do it once and move on. You see how it now jumped to 3.811? There you go. That's my problem. And maybe it just takes some time to settle. I'm not sure. I really am not sure what the deal is with that, but set it and forget it. Just move on, go to the next one. That seems to be the best thing to do. So now we're on cell number 3 and we're at 3.807. The meter's reading 3.808. So see, it jumped down to 5. See what I mean? A little kludgy. Anyway, we'll set it to 07. Let that one go. We'll move on to the next one. There we go. There's cell number 4. Hey, 3.805. We got a match. Nice. We'll move on to cell number 5. And that one is showing me 3.809. So that's really close. We'll click on that and do 3.809. And then we'll move on to cell number 6. And 3.807 on the meter, 3.804 on the charger. You see, this is what I mean. It's just a little off. And it was like this from the start too. Now, once you've gone through it once, the best thing I've found is to go through it again. So you just go through it again and you'll eventually get it kind of zeroed in a little bit. So 3.803, we got to change it to 3.806 and then just move on to the next one. Don't mess with it twice. There's number 2, 3.807. I'm going to live with that. That's plus or minus 1,000. That's fine. Number 3, we can make that one just a little closer maybe. And then number 4, we'll go to that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4, and that's 3.805. We can make that just a little closer. And then number 5. 3.809, that's within a thousandth. I'll live with it. And then finally, there's the last one, 3.807, which is cool. That looks good. And then I'm not going to do the input voltage, but you could easily do that just by taking your voltage off your battery source. So, do whatever you got to do there. But you can check your output voltage, this one, by separating your two leads and putting one on the first wire. And I'll try and get this in frame so you can see it. So there's one on the last positive line. There's one on the first one, and that's 22.84, and that's 22.832. So we can make an adjustment there. We'll just bring that up. Because we only have two digits here, I'm going to park it in the middle. That's the best I can do, is park it in the middle. So 22.84, 22.84, we'll live with that. And then when we're done, we hit back. So that's the calibration, and you can do that for any channel. Once you put in, we don't have a battery connected, that's why it's saying that. But once you put in the key, you can go ahead and do your other calibrations. I think 4 has a battery. Let's take a look at 4. There you go. So if you want to do 4, you can do that as well. Okay, so that's how you calibrate it. No big deal. I mean, it's close. It's not as good as the iCharger. It's just not. But it's not terrible. It was pretty close, and I'm using a pretty sensitive meter here too. So that's that on the calibration. Kind of wonder how the hell those wires got crossed over like that. Okay, that's the balance port. The next thing I wanted to show you is the combined charging option, so you know how to do that, because I actually had to go look this one up. Okay, the way combined charging works is we're going to just do on the right-hand side here. I need to get out of this calibration so I don't accidentally change something. Oh, and I'll show you the rest of the system menu too. Don't worry about that. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to need the balance board, because I'm going to use 2 batteries. Now, if you had one battery that could take 500 watts, by all means, do that, but I don't. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to connect, and I have to make sure I have 2 batteries with the same voltage, because these 2 on the right, they did not. And you don't want stuff connected in parallel if the voltage isn't really close. So we'll break some of this stuff apart real quick. And I'm going to check them with my battery checker just to make sure we've got common voltage on these 2. So 3.80 to 3.81, that's fine. And 3.80, yeah, that one's fine. So this pair of batteries will work for our demo. So what I'm going to do, the objective here, guys, is to be able to feed 500 watts to a pair of batteries. You got to make sure you've got a system that can take that. And I'm not going to feed 10 amps or 20 amps into one of these batteries. It's not going to do that. I don't mind taking 20 amps out, but I'm not going to put 20 amps in. So we'll use a balance board for this. Okay, there we go. So I've got 2 batteries connected to the balance board. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can see what's going on here in terms of connectivity. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take the balance lead and plug it into channel 3. All right, channel 3 is the one that does the balancing when you do what they call combined charge. The next thing we need to do, we'll disconnect this one to avoid any confusion. The next thing we're going to do is take our parallel lead, okay? This is a female to male. And the 2 female leads go into the side ports right here. So plug in one right there and one right here. All right. And now we'll take this lead and plug it into our balance board. Okay. So as far as the HOTA F6 is concerned, now I've got a battery connected, because this is all it knows. It's a battery, and it's really 2, of course. And I've got them connected via parallel board. Okay, so that's the connectivity. Now let me show you how to do what they call the combined charge. So the combined charge, and this is only like if you want to do parallel charging, like you want to do a whole bunch of batteries at once, you can, and you can get 500 watts out per side. So you can do 500 watts on this side and 500 watts on this side, which I thought was kind of a cool party trick. So I'm going to go into channel 3, and we'll select that, and under task type, we're going to go down to the bottom, and you see this option called sync charge. That's the one we're looking for. So sync charge. And then for the current, we've got the voltage at 22.2. That's auto detected. For the current setting, I've got it all the way up at 22 amps, and we're just going to hit go. And notice how the screen changes when you do that. When you put it on sync charge, Now what happens is this entire right panel is dedicated to the synchronous charge. And you can still do individual port charges on channels 1 and 2. You can still do that. And this will climb up to 22. Again, it's kind of slow. It doesn't just slam the 22 amps in. It's kind of slow. And you should still be able to cycle through by hitting the channel key. There's channel 1. We hit it again for channel 2. And we hit it again, and we see channel 3, 4. So there we go, 388 watts. We're at 17 amps. We're approaching 500 watts. There's 475, 484, 493, 500. So there's 500 watts right there. So 21 amps, 23 volts, 500 watts, and that's what they call combined charging. Pretty cool little party trick, right? I think it's kind of neat. Okay. So, oh, and by the way, unlike certain SkyRC chargers, the fans on this one actually work, and they're actually quiet so far. So far. I have to caveat it by saying so far. We will get there. I'll let you know if I run into problems with the fans. Believe me, you guys know I'll do that. If I have problems with the fans on this, I'll make sure to let you know. But so far, I can say that it runs fairly quiet, and the fan seems to work pretty well so far. So I don't have any issues there. In fact, the fan just kicked on. So we're still cruising 500 watts, and that's charging these two batteries over a parallel board. Pretty cool, right? Just checking the cable for heat. It's not bad. Not bad. That's 21 amps going through there right now. So not bad. All right. The last thing I have two more things I want to show you. First thing I want to do is show you the system menu so you can get an idea of what's going on in the system menu. And then the next thing I want to do is show you some of the USB stuff. Okay, I just had to get my my crazy USB settings. Okay, so the first thing we'll do, let's do the USB stuff first. So what I've got here is I've got a USB extension so I can actually show you the screen. You know how it is with these meters. Every single time you want to see the meter, it lines up upside down. So when you plug in the USB-A, if I were to plug this meter directly into USB-A, it'd be upside down like that, of course, because you can't see that. So fortunately, with this arrangement, I have an extension. And with the extension, I can just plug that in like that. And now we can see the screen. Cool, huh? Okay, so there's the screen. And what I figured we'd do first is just plug in a radio. So I'm going to bring the TX16S in. And we'll just plug that in on the bottom, and there's power. And you can see we're drawing 0.4 amps. And the mode right here says QC2, although I have seen QC3 on this one in the past. Maybe we just don't need it right now. But I have seen QC3 on this one in the past. Yeah, it's still in mode QC2. Not sure. Maybe it just takes a minute. But anyway, there's a half an amp. And this says 2.1 amps. So I know the Mark II will do better. It does do the QC3 profile, quick charge profile. I'm sure it's 3. Maybe it's 2. I thought it was 3 though. But at any rate, if the battery needs it, it will definitely go higher than that. Okay. So there's the USB-A, and then we can also do, maybe that's the problem. Maybe it needs power delivery. What I'm going to do next is use the other cable that I have here on my little meter. And we're going to plug into the PD port. And when we do that, you can see the radio starts charging again. And we'll see what's going on. Oh, there we go. That's what it needed. It wanted to see that PD. That's probably the problem. I had it on USB-A and that's not supported. But there we go. QC2, 1.7 amps. Now we're cooking with gas. So this one, the PD port you can use to charge your radio if you want to, or your cell phone or your run cam or whatever else you want. And you don't have to use the silly extension that I have. If you just want to plug your radio in with a straight USB-A, you can do that as well. I only do that so I can show you guys what's going on. So we'll try it one more time here. That was funny because the USB-A side of that was working too. There we go. The USB-A side of this was working. But there we go. That's strictly USB-C to USB-C. So we have PD output, USB-C input, USB-C output, USB-C output, and USB-C input. And there we go. We got 1.5 amps. So yeah, like I said, if you just want to plug directly into the HOTA charger, you can do that too. I only have all this junk up here so you guys can see the numbers, but obviously it's a much cleaner arrangement just to do this. Okay. So I did that just so you guys could see the measurements, but there you go. You can charge your radio, charge your phone. It does not have the wireless puck. I know some of the HOTA chargers actually have that wireless charging. It does not do that. But you have the wired charging if you need to do that on the workbench at the field. Okay, so that was the USB-C stuff or USB stuff. One last thing I want to do is show you the system menu, and then we'll wrap this video up. So I will zoom in. We'll just zoom in here quickly. And we will take a look at the system menu by long pressing the jog dial. And under task parameters, you can plug in a time. This is just to prevent it from don't go to sleep while you're charging and not have a balance lead connected. You can also set up your max capacity. Wouldn't be a bad idea if you're doing something like, 6L5000s to set it to, wow, look at how much that skipped. It might not be a bad idea to maybe set max milliamp hours. And I'm not sure yet if this is per charge cycle or it's got to be per charge cycle. So, just a little safety feature to go ahead. If your largest battery is, say, a 6200, maybe not a bad idea to set that. So set it at 6300, and that way, you'll never overcharge if you set that. End current, this is when it goes into, when it leaves constant current and switches to constant voltage. You can set your end current percentage, and then you can leave a trickle charger on. So that's good. And under system parameters, regen discharge, these are, here you got languages. You got some Asian language, German, more Asian, French, Spanish, and I'm not sure what the Asian languages are, so you have to forgive me. But anyway, there are your menu options. Regen discharge is where you can set your parameters. So max current for regen. Obviously, in my case, I want the max current on regen to be way up there. So I will hit 12.5. Max voltage, this is for the power source you're dumping into. In my case, since I'm using LiPo, I can use 29 volts on mine. And then the max power, if you want to max out your regen rate, you set that up to 250. Then you can hit back. Max input power, 1200 watts. You can specify, this would be to prevent damage to a battery as an input source. So you can limit the amount of power consumption on the device. That's why they have that. Minimum input voltage, again, is to protect a battery if you don't have a BMS. In my case, with the Life batteries, there is a BMS, so I don't need to worry about that. I can leave the min input to whatever, it doesn't matter, because my BMS will actually disconnect my source battery if it becomes a problem. You can turn the LCD backlight on to high, middle, or low. And then there's a volume button. What I don't like about the volume is it seems to apply to everything, including navigation and the end state. And I don't like that because I don't like all the beeps when I'm navigating, but I do want it to beep when it's done. And I haven't found a way to separate that yet. So you either have to have some beeps while you're navigating, like, anytime you move the wheel, it's going to beep, and then you can get a tone when it's finished, or you can turn it off and just go back and check on it, I guess. So it's up to you. Completion signal, you can have it just ring once or multiple times. And then device name, I think that might have something to do with Bluetooth, because I looked and they had an app option that allegedly looks like it allows the app to control the charger. But the Apple Store version of it, the entire thing is written in Chinese, so I couldn't read it. So I think that's what the device name is for. It might let you pair with Bluetooth and control the charger from your phone, but I haven't been able to proceed with that because I can't find a app written in English. Continuous mode, what I like about that one is if you're at the field and you're going to be charging a bunch of 6L5000s all day long, if you put it on continuous mode and you disconnect the 6L5000, you plug another one in, it just goes right back to work at the same settings. You don't have to do anything in the menu. You don't even have to press start. It just does it on its own. So I think that's a very cool little setup. Under tools, I mentioned some basic servo capabilities. So PWM measurement, this is where you could plug a servo in and see, what's going on in terms of duty cycle, or maybe a receiver signal might be better. Servo manual test, so you can do a sweep. Either you can set the servo pulse width and move the arm, or you can put it on auto, and there's a PPM out. So again, somewhat limited, but there are some options on there. So if you want to test the servo out, you can at least do that. You know, plug the servo in and set it to auto mode, and it'll sweep the servo back and forth. So that's kind of cool. And then the calibration you guys already saw. The system self-check, that's just some kind of option to, it doesn't say what it's doing, but it's going to self-check and hopefully it comes back clean. I guess if you have problems, they might ask you to run a system self-check and report what the issue is, but there's the system self-check. Self-check done without error. Well, yay, I'm glad to see that. And then if you want to restore factory settings, you can do that. And then the system info, check your firmware. I did check the firmware. This appears to be the latest, so this is current. And that's it. I think after that, we go back. So there you go. That's the HOTA F6 top to bottom. In terms of what I like and what I don't like, I like how compact it is. I really do like that a lot. It's a very, if you think about what's going on here, this is a very compact charger with a lot of power. So we're talking 1,000 watts, 250 watts per channel, and it is a reasonably compact device that'll easily fit in my new Go bag. So I think all the ports are really easy to get to. Nothing sticks out. It won't snag on the bag. I really do like the form factor. I got to tell you, the form factor, I'm digging that a lot. I even like the fact that they made the sides very clean, 2 on each side. And the reason, here's what I like about this. They separated the balance ports out, because a lot of times with balance ports, you can have things like, here you go. Look, there you go. If you have these bad air plugs and you're just plugging it in straight, if they're next to each other, like on a balance board, they'll jam into each other. So I think it was really well thought out to separate the balance ports. So if you do want to plug directly into the charger, you can do that. So nice job. That was actually thought out well. On the front, I like that they have the cable. You got to have USB somewhere. I like that they used USB. I like they provide a USB charger. Why not? You got the power right there. You're regulating power into a LiPo. Why not provide outputs? I like that they give PD. I like that they give a 5-volt USB-A, and it doesn't hurt my feelings that they're using micro for flash updates, because I don't care about that. What I do care about is they use USB-C. So that's good. I think that's well done. It's clear to me that the ventilation, if you look at the case design, you've got holes in the back and holes in the front. This is well thought out. They're moving air. They're blowing it right over the components. They're either pulling or blowing. It doesn't matter to me which. Let's find out. We'll just find out. If I can get the fans to run. It's blowing. So the air comes out the front. So good job. You know, I think that, you know, well done, because they thought about it. There's 2 fans on the back. There's ventilation out the front. That's good. And then on the right-hand side, of course, you've got the other 2 channels. So six channels each. Just keep that in mind. So overall, form factor is good. I got to give credit to the guy who made the stand too. A lot of times with these stands, they don't, you know, these types of devices, they don't always fit perfectly. This fits perfectly. So I got to give him credit. I think it's going to be great inside the Go case. As far as the menuing system goes, I can tell you that it's not as crisp as, say, the iCharger X6. The iCharger X6 seems to be, the interface is a little more snappy, but I think it's sufficient. It's not a problem. Like, I don't navigate around going, oh God, it's so slow. I can't, it's not like I'm trying to run, you know, you guys remember running Windows 95 on a 386 SX16 computer? It's not like that. It's a little bit laggy. Like, it's not real crisp, but it's not terrible. It's perfectly functional. And I think overall, I would say, the navigation with these wheels can sometimes be really spotty, but this one is pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm just calling a spade here. I've had plenty of these chargers where this navigation was an absolute disaster. On this charger, I'm not feeling that. It feels pretty accurate. Like, I'm not really skipping around. I'm not saying it's flawless, right? But I'm saying it's pretty darn good. I seem to be able to hit my marks without too much fuss. You guys know what I'm talking about if you use these things. Sometimes you go to move that marker and it just goes shooting down the screen or skips past 3 of your steps. So that part seems okay. As far as the usability goes, it's perfectly understandable. I mean, the battery type, let's go back up. You can pick the channel you want to work in. So I would like it if you could multi-select. That would be nice. If you could say, bang, bang, I want this to apply to channels 1, 2, and 3. That would be nice. But you can pick the channel you're working in. You can select the task. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Power supply, I guess that would be probably an output right here, or on one of the channels. No, that'd be the channel. So on power supply, oh, interesting. I didn't mess around with that. Oh, look at that. Output voltage and current. Huh, how about that? So you can use it as a power supply. Nice, nice. I never even got into that one. This is the first time I saw it. Look at that, 5 volts. I kind of want to test that. I think we need to test that. So let's set it here. Let's test it. We'll do 5.5 volts. We'll leave the current low because it just doesn't, we're just going to test it. We don't need a lot of current. We don't need John blowing himself up tonight, do we? And then output power, and we'll hit start, and that's on channel 1, and it says power. Check that out. Okay. Game on. I will simply, that is channel 1. So all I'm going to do is turn my meter on, and we said it was supposed to be 5.1 volts, right? And we'll just connect this. You know what? I think it'd be safer for me to get my probes because I don't want sparks. So I am going to hook my probes up real quick to avoid blowing something up. That would really annoy me on the first night to blow up a charger because I was too lazy to get my probes. Okay, there we go. That's better. So what we say, 5.1? What did I say, 5.5? Is that what we said? Let's check. I think you have to hit. Sorry, I'm still learning the navigation. Okay, let's see. We'll long press. That should stop everything. We'll go back into channel 1. Output full. Oh, I did have it on 5.5. How about that? All right, let's try something a little higher. Let's try, I don't know, 7.4. Start. Do not connect the battery. Okay. Start task. How did it know there was something connected? That's interesting. All right, probes are in. 7.4. That's pretty good. Let's bring that resolution up a little. 7. It's moving a little bit, but that's not bad. I mean, it's staying pretty darn close to 7.4. So for hobby use, for testing servos or receivers on the bench, that's fine. That's pretty good. Not bad. Not bad. Got to give them credit for that too. That's a neat function. So a little built-in power supply if you want it. Nice. I like that. Save you some money. Dual purpose machines. I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. All right, let's go back into the settings. So select task, there's power supply. Charge, that's obvious. Discharge should be obvious. External, I mentioned that requires an external load. I will do that on a pilot jam, so make sure you check the next pilot jam. Storage, obvious. Balance, that's the one where if your battery's slightly out and you want it to get balanced, you plug it in, put the balance lead in, it'll balance for you. Regen discharge, one of my favorite features. I love that. And then sync charge, we covered that. So that's the dual-sided, dual connection, 500 watt version. And that's it for the tasks. So I think most times we'll leave it on charge. And then battery type, we covered that. Cell voltage, options here. You can go up to 4.25 and down to 4, which is fine. I don't see any reason under charge why you need anything other than that. I like the ability to set my peak to be a little bit lower than 4.2, so I'm down with that. Cell count looks like it's automatic. Let's try that. I haven't plugged. Let's plug something else in. Let's do that. We'll do a. Let me back out of there, and I'm just going to plug in because I have not done a 4-cell yet. So we'll plug in a 4-cell battery. I'll plug in the balance lead, and we'll go in here and see if it picked it. Yeah, it picked it up automatically. So it automatically switched to 4-cell. So for that reason, I don't see any reason to fool around with that. You should probably just leave that alone. And then obviously current, you can set that to whatever you need. So yeah, perfectly understandable menu system, very easy to use. I would say in terms of form factor, I kind of wish more of this interface were screen, like usable screen. Like, why couldn't they move maybe the buttons down here and make this more screen? That would be cool. I don't know why they do that. Like this reminds me of old laptops. Remember all those bezels on the old laptops? Look at all that bezel space. Like it would be better if they just made that more screen space. But I don't have a problem reading it though. So with that said, it's not like it's not like a operational problem. It just would be nicer if it were a little bigger, but it's functional. So I don't really ding them for that one. And that's it. I think that's pretty much the tour of the HOTA F6 top to bottom. So far, what I can say, it seems to do well. It does what it says it's going to do initially. You know, again, first look, and you guys know how this is. If I find a problem up the road, I will let you know for sure. But I would say for a first look, it seems to be fairly effective. I think it's powerful. I like the wattage output. I like the menu system. It seems okay. Easy to navigate, easy to understand. Should not be hard to pick this one up. All right, I'm going to go back and take a quick look at comments, see if there's anything I need to address, and if not, I will close this video out. I want to remind you guys that I have affiliate links in the description. If you'd like to get any of this stuff for yourself, I've got them for the Fluke. If you want a Fluke 87, if you want to treat yourself, I'll admit that's a treat. I've got that in the description. I've got affiliate links for the HOTA. I've got affiliate links for the little connectors I got, the little special ones with the little teeth. And I'll tell you guys, if this is interesting to you, go get them now, because I know my channel, and I know what'll happen is these are going to get bought up fast. They'll get snapped up. So go get them if you want them. And let's see. I'm going to check and see if there's anything I need to check. Yogan says, will it work with 120 AC? No. This is not an AC power supply. This is DC only. They do have an AC power supply, but this one is DC only. And as you can see on the back, it says DC in 10.5 to 30 volts. But I do that by design because I don't really do heavy charge loads inside the house. I do mine at the field. But they do have an AC version if you need to get one. Robert says, cool features, all stop. I agree. They don't all have AC though, and it's 186. Yeah, 186. A little more for the AC version. Let's see. Put a AGO 1s in my T20. Okay. You're sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Just want to talk to someone getting started. All right, let's see. Chit chat. It's 100 watts per channel, has 2 channels, another HOTA. Okay. I think there's just a lot of conversation that it doesn't look like I need to address. When did this come out? I bought the HOTA S6, which like discharge rate is bad. I don't know when this came out. I know that I only recently saw it. I really wasn't in the market. I got to be honest with you guys, after getting myself set up with these iCharger X6s, I love these little things. So I really wasn't in the market. But like I said, I kind of had this idea that it'd be nice just to go with one device and be able to do more batteries. That's really what got me started on this whole thing. I go to the field. I've got 2 in my big field box. And sometimes it's just not enough. Sometimes I feel like I'm waiting too much. And with this thing, I will never be waiting for a battery. Cost on the screen size because they all look generic. Yeah, I guess so. That's actually a pretty good deal, Boondock. I have an ISDT FD200. Yeah, I've got an FD200 too. It's pretty good. All right, I don't see anything in here that I need to address. So I think we've covered it fairly well top to bottom. This has been like a 1-hour first look. So I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know new videos hit the channel. Thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. That's all I've got for today.